The auction was almost over. The space station was dark, filled with strange smells and louder voices. Traders shouted. Buyers argued. Lights blinked from every wall. In the middle of it all stood cages, many cages, all filled with alien children. But now every cage was empty, sold, taken, gone, except one dot in the farthest corner. Away from the main stage, one cage still had a lock. Inside it, a small girl sat quietly. Her knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around them. Her skin was silver blue. Her long white hair covered most of her face. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just waited. A trader stood beside her cage, bored and tired. Defective unit, he muttered to another man. Didn't sell. No one wants broken things. She's cursed, someone whispered. She's dangerous, said another. She killed her last owner, an old alien hissed, backing away. The trader laughed. Just stories, she doesn't even speak. The girl heard them all, but she said nothing. Her eyes soft and glowing just stared at the cold floor. Minutes passed. The crowd left. The lights began to dim. The auction was over. The trader sighed, turned to leave. But then, footsteps, heavy, slow, human. A tall man walked forward. He wore a dark coat with a hood. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He didn't speak, didn't ask. He just stopped in front of the cage. The girl didn't move. The man knelt. Down, their eyes met. Silver blue met human brown. She expected him to look away in fear, like the others. But he didn't. He kept looking at her, as if seeing something inside her, something no one else saw. After a long moment, he spoke. Just 3 words. Soft, deep, calm. I'll take her. Silence. The trader blinked. What? I said. The man repeated, slowly standing. I'll take her. The trader laughed nervously. Sir, she's not safe. She's not normal. We couldn't even how much? The human asked. The trader scratched his head. Sir, I don't know of how much, the man repeated. This time colder. The trader looked around. Everyone was gone. This man didn't look rich, but something about him made the trader's skin crawl. Not fear. Something else. 100 tokens. The trader said carefully. The man pulled out a strange coin. Old. Not from this station. Not from this system. He placed it on the table without a word. The trader picked it up, looked at it, and his eyes widened. This is worth 10 times more. The man didn't reply. He walked to the cage, pressed his hand on the lock. It clicked open. The girl didn't move. He knelt down again and held out his hand. She looked at it for a long time. No one had done this before. No one had ever asked her to come. They just pulled her, hit her, chained her. But this man waited slowly, carefully. She reached out her hand and touched his fingers. Her skin was cold. His was warm. He helped her stand. She was small, weak. Her legs trembled. They walked away from the cage, away from the auction, away from the whispers. Hey, the trader called, still staring at the coin. Wait, what's your name? The man stopped for a second. He didn't turn around. Doesn't matter, he said, and they disappeared into the shadows of the station. They boarded a quiet ship in the docking bay. Small, old, but clean. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, soft lights glowed. The girl looked around, unsure. He led her to a small room. A bed, a blanket, a bottle of water. She sat down, too afraid to speak. The man crouched beside her. You're safe now, he said. She looked at him, blinking slowly. Why? She whispered, her voice dry from silence. He paused, then answered with simple words. Because you were still there. He stood and walked to the door. But just before leaving, he said something she never thought she would hear. "You're not property anymore." The door closed softly. The girl sat still. Her fingers touched the blanket. Warm, she had forgotten what warmth felt like that night. In the quiet room, she curled under the blanket, her eyes wide open. She remembered the cage, the cold, the pain. But now, she had a bed. She had a name to learn, and maybe she had a chance. A strange feeling rose in her chest. Not fear, not sadness. Something new. Hope. The girl woke up slowly. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. No metal bars, no cold floor, no voices shouting at her. Only soft lights and a warm blanket around her. The room smelled clean. Quiet hummed from the ship's walls. It was not a dream. She touched the bed. Real, she sat up, scared but curious. Where was the man? Her feet touched the floor. Wasn't cold. She stepped out of the room carefully, like a ghost afraid to make sound. Her long white hair hung loose, and her silver blue skin glowed gently under the ship's soft light. The hallway was small. A door was open on the left. She peeked in. The man was sitting at a table, fixing something with metal tools. Cup of dark liquid steamed beside him. He saw her. "You slept long," he said, his voice calm. She stood silent. Unsure. "Sit," he said, pointing to the chair across from him. She walked slowly and sat down. The chair was soft. He pushed a plate toward her. Warm food. Simple, cooked. Her hands shook. She looked at him again. "Eat." She picked up the small fork. It felt strange. She took a bite. Her eyes widened. Warm, soft. No poison. No pain. He waited as she ate. Halfway through, she spoke in a tiny voice. "What do I call you?" He didn't answer at first. Then he looked at her and said, "I don't have a name you need." She blinked. "But I must call you something." He shrugged. "If you want, call me whatever feels right," she thought. "Human." He smiled just a little. "Fine. Human works." She looked at him again, her eyes full of questions. "Why did you buy me?" He paused. His fingers stopped moving. Then he said, "Because no one else did. But I'm not useful. You're alive," he said. That's enough. No one had ever said that to her. Later, the girl explored the ship. It was old, but safe. One main hallway, a small control room, a sleeping room, a storage room, and a kitchen. There were no guards. No chains. She found a mirror in the hallway. She looked at herself, thin, pale. Her eyes glowed softly like small moons. A mark near her neck glowed faintly. She quickly covered it with her hand. That mark. She hated it. It reminded her of things she wanted to forget. The mark that made the traders call her cursed. The reason she was left in that cage, she ran her fingers across it. Wishing it would vanish behind her, the human's voice spoke. "That mark. What is it?" She froze. He had seen it. She turned slowly. "It's nothing." He didn't push. Just nodded. "If it ever becomes something, tell me." She nodded back, but didn't mean it. Some secrets were too deep. Days passed. They traveled through empty space, stars floating like dust outside the windows. The girl started to feel safe. The human taught her small things. How to use the cleaner, how to boil water, how to watch the radar. He gave her tasks, not orders. "You're not a slave," he said one day. She didn't answer. He showed her how to open the control panel, how to read the ship's maps. She listened carefully. "You're smart," he said. "Faster than most." She looked down. "I used to be ... trained." "Trained for what?" She shook her head. "I don't know." Another secret. One night, the ship passed through a glowing nebula. The light filled the room with soft purple and gold. The girl stood by the window, watching in silence. The human joined her. "Ever seen something like this before?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, I was always in cages, or boxers, or bags." He didn't ask more. He just stood beside her, watching the stars. Then she said, "You never told me where we're going." He looked at her. "Nowhere important. But then why take me?" "I already told you." "Because I was still there." He nodded. She looked at him again. "What do humans do with broken things?" "We fix them," he replied. She thought for a long moment. Then she whispered, "What if I can't be fixed?" He didn't smile, didn't lie. "Then we live anyway." That night, she slept without fear. She still had the mark. She still had secrets. But now, she also had something else. A ship. A name for him. Warm food. And maybe a beginning. The girl woke to soft humming. The ship flew gently through space. It felt like the stars outside were singing. She sat up slowly, stretched her thin arms, and felt something strange inside her chest lightness. She didn't know the name of this feeling, but it was warm and soft, like the blanket she now slept in every night. She stepped into the hallway. The human was in the control room, sitting in the pilot chair, staring at the screen. She stood behind him quietly. He spoke without turning. "Good morning." She blinked. "How did you know I was there?" "I heard your feet," he said. "You walk like a cloud." She tilted her head. "Cloud." "Light." He smiled. Silent. She looked at the screen. Stars moved slowly, like they were swimming. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To a junk moon. I need parts for the ship. Is it safe?" He looked at her for a second, then nodded. "If you stay close to me." After 2 hours, they landed on the junk moon. The ground was red and dusty, and broken ships covered the land like fallen skeletons. She wore a long hooded coat to hide her glowing skin. The human handed her a small tool. "If I say run, you run. If I say hide, you hide." She nodded. They walked into the trading post. It was a rusty building, filled with metal parts, oil smells, and strange aliens. None of them looked twice at the girl. Her hood helped. Her silence helped more. The human talked to a robot behind the counter. The girl walked around, staring at the machines. Some looked like the ones from the cages she once lived in. Her breath caught in her chest. Her heart beat faster. She touched one cold metal collar. Her hands shook. "You okay?" the human asked, suddenly beside her. She dropped the collar quickly. "Yes." He looked at her, then back at the collar. "You remember?" She nodded. Too much. He didn't speak. Just put a hand gently on her shoulder and guided her away. Back on the ship, the girl sat in the corner of the main room, her arms wrapped around her knees. The human sat on the floor across from her. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. He nodded. "I used to cry in the cage," she said. "But I learned to stop. They hit us if we cried too much. I taught myself to hold my breath when I wanted to scream." The human stayed silent. "I thought it made me strong. But now I forget how to breathe when I'm scared." He looked at her kindly. "You're breathing now." She blinked. "I am." "Yes," he said softly. "You're learning again." She looked down at her hands. "My heart still feels strange." "That's because it remembers," he said. "But it will change." Slowly, that night, she had a dream. She was standing on a planet of light. The ground was white, the sky blue. Birds flew above. She was not in a cage. She wore a white dress. Her hair flowing like water. She laughed. She ran. Then, everything turned. Black dot flames, screams. She turned. Dan saw her mother. Her mother reached out with bloody hands. "Run, child," she screamed. She woke up crying. It was the first time she had cried in years. The human heard her from the hallway and opened her door. She sat up, wiping her eyes, trying to stop the sound. He sat beside her on the bed. Nightmare? She nodded. Want to talk? No, she whispered. Not now. He gave her a glass of water. She drank slowly. Crying isn't weak, he said. It's breathing too. She looked at him. He wasn't like the others. He didn't ask for anything. Didn't demand. Didn't hurt. He just stayed. And that, more than anything, confused her. The next day, the girl asked for something. Can I help with the ship? The human smiled. Of course. He showed her how to check fuel levels, how to clean the filters, how to tighten loose bolts. She learned fast. Her hands moved quickly. Her eyes focused. You're good at this, he said. I remember machines, she replied. I was made to fix them. Before, they sold me. Sold, he repeated softly. She nodded, again and again. He sighed. Then he asked, Do you know your name? She hesitated. I had one, but they called me Unit X91. That's not a name, he said. That's a number. I know. He looked at her, serious. Do you want a name? She looked at the stars through the window. Yes. He thought for a while, then said, Lyra, Lyra. She repeated. It's a star. A bright one. Small, but strong. She smiled, her eyes wet again. I like it. And so, the girl, who once lived in a cage, was now called Lyra. And for the first time in her life, she was learning how to breathe again. Lyra stood in front of the mirror again, this time not to hide, but to look at herself. Her hair was cleaner now, soft, and white like starlight. Her skin no longer looked pale from fear, but gentle like silver silk. But the mark near her shoulder still glowed faintly, a curved symbol, almost like a flame made of lines. She touched it lightly, still warm, still there. Behind her, the human called from the hallway, Lyra, come here, want to show you something. She quickly pulled the collar of her shirt higher, hiding the glowing skin, and walked out. He was standing by the main control panel, wires everywhere, tools in both hands. Help me fix the stabilizer. The ship leans to the left. She smiled. A little, that's why the floor feels like it's tipping. Exactly, he said. We don't want to slide into a star. She laughed softly. It felt good, but strange too. They worked together for over an hour. She passed him tools, climbed into panels, even crawled under the floor once. Afterward, she sat on the floor, tired but happy. You're quick, he said. Like you've done this before. She looked away. I was trained to be useful. His voice grew quiet. They used you. Yes, she said. Many times. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. The dream came again, her mother's voice. The burning village, her own screams. She woke up with sweat on her skin and sat up, breathing hard. Then she felt it, the mark on her shoulder burning. She stood, walked to the mirror and pulled her shirt down slightly. The symbol was glowing brighter than before. She covered it quickly and stepped back. No, not again. She had hidden it for so long. Even in the cages, she had never told anyone. The last time someone touched the mark, they had died. She didn't want him to know. But the next morning, while cleaning wires near the engine room, her shirt slipped just a little, but enough. The human was walking behind her, holding tools. He stopped. What's that? He asked gently. Lyra froze. She didn't turn around. It's nothing. That mark. I've seen it before. She looked over her shoulder slowly. Where? He came closer. His voice dropped low. During the Orion War, on soldiers on weapons created by the Sith, you were a child. But that mark doesn't belong to a child. Lyra backed away, fear in her eyes. I didn't ask for it. I didn't say you did. She pressed against the wall, her breathing fast. I didn't hurt anyone. I didn't want this. I swear. He raised his hands. I believe you. Do you? She asked, voice trembling. Because others saw the mark and ran, or beat me, or sold me. He sat down on the ground, cross-legged, calm. I'm not others. She stared at him. The ship was quiet. Only their breaths filled the space. She sank to the floor slowly, knees to her chest. They said I was cursed, that I carried a code, something locked inside my blood. They said I was made, not born. The human stayed silent. I don't know who I am, she whispered. Do you want to know? He asked. She looked up. Yes. Then we'll find out together. Later that day, he showed her an old file, a report from the war. Blurred pictures. Soldiers covered in armor. Some with the same glowing mark. These weren't soldiers, the human said. They were experiments. Children stolen and changed. The project was shut down, but not all were found. Lyra stared at one image, a small girl with the same/only girl, with the same hair, the same eyes. The same mark was that. Her. I think you were part of something big, he said. Something hidden. That's why they kept you in that cage. Not because you were broken, but because you were dangerous, she whispered. Do you think I can hurt people? He looked into her eyes. Only if you choose to. That night, Lyra stood at the window, watching the stars. The mark on her skin didn't hurt now. It glowed quietly, like a soft flame. She didn't feel cursed anymore. She felt confused, lost, but not alone. The human sat nearby, sipping tea. She asked, "What's your story?" He raised an eyebrow. "My story. You saved me. But why?" He looked at his cup. "Because once someone saved me too." She blinked. "Who?" "A girl with no name. On a battlefield. She died saving others." "What was her name?" He closed his eyes. "Lyra." Her heart stopped for a second. "That's my name now." He nodded. "I gave it to you, because she gave it to me." They sat together in silence. No more lies. No more fear. Just the truth between them. The girl with the mark, and the man with no name, had now become something more, a story still unfolding. The stars looked peaceful. But danger was near. Lyra sat in the control chair, her eyes focused on the radar screen. She had learned to read its small green blips. Normally, it was calm, just dots moving slowly in the black sky. But now, one dot was following them. It stayed far behind, silent, UNMOV. She called out, "Human." He entered the room, rubbing grease off his hands. "What is it?" She pointed at the screen. "That ship. It's been there for hours." He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Not a trade ship. No ID signal. Is it dangerous?" He didn't answer right away. Then said softly, "It might be." He changed their course 3 times. Still, the ship followed. Lyra's stomach twisted with fear. "They're after me, aren't they?" He looked at her. "Yes. Who are they?" "I don't know yet, but you will find out," she said. He nodded. "I always do." They landed on a dead moon, full of rusted ships and forgotten things. It looked like a ship graveyard. Bones of machines. Cold air. Red dust. He shut the engines. Powered everything down. "Why here?" Lyra asked. He looked out the window. "To hide." They walked carefully through the broken wreckage. Lyra stayed close to him. Strange noises echoed in the air. Creaks, metal groans, wind that didn't feel like wind. In the center of the junkyard stood a small round building. Faded lights blinked above the door. Inside, a robot merchant sat behind a thick metal counter. Its voice was rough and slow. "Human, you return." "Needed to disappear," the man said. The robot's glass eyes turned toward Lyra. "You bring ... the marked one." Lyra's heart skipped. The human didn't blink. "Tell me what you know." The robot leaned forward. "She is not just a child. She is a key." "A key to what?" the human asked. "To an old weapon, one that should never wake again." Lyra whispered, "I don't want to be a weapon." The robot nodded. "Then you must stay hidden." "But they will come. They always come." The human looked at Lyra. "Let's go." Back on the ship, Lyra sat in silence. The human locked the doors, powered up the shields. "I didn't ask to be a key," Lyra said. He sat beside her. "I know. They made me, changed me. I know. I'm scared." He looked into her eyes. "So am I." The radar beeped again. The black ship was closer now. Too close. No signal, no words, just presence. They knew Lyra was here. She stood, a fist shaking. "Let me face them." "No," the human said. "They'll try to control you. They already did," she cried. "I won't let them again." He held her shoulders gently. "You're strong, but not ready." A pause, then he whispered, "But I'll protect you until you are." That night, she couldn't sleep. She sat by the ship's window, looking out into space. She remembered her mother's face, the final scream, the burning skies. She remembered the cage, the silence, the cold, the hunger. She remembered his voice, "I'll take her." Now she knew why. Because she wasn't just a girl. She was a secret, a weapon, a target, and maybe something more. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. The black ship had arrived. It hovered like a monster, silent and waiting. The human grabbed his blaster. "They found us. What do we do?" Lyra asked. He stared at the screen. "We fight." The ship's speakers crackled. A voice came through, cold and sharp. "Unit X-91. You are property of the Black Sun Directive. Surrender now." Lyra's chest felt tight. "No," she whispered. The voice spoke again. "Activate the mark. Let the fire return." The human looked at her. "Can they control you?" "I don't know," she said. "But I won't let them." He pointed to the escape path on the map. "I'll distract them. You run if I fall." She shook her head. "No, not this time. I'm tired of running." He smiled. "Good." The black ship sent a boarding team. 3 metal-skinned soldiers landed outside the junkyard station. Tall, armored, faceless. They walked like machines, scanning every corner. The human handed Lyra a small device. "What is it?" she asked. "Hope," he said. "And maybe freedom." As the enemies approached, Lyra stood tall. The mark on her shoulder began to glow again this time. Brighter, stronger, the weapon inside her was waking. But this time, she chose to face it. This time, the power was hers. Lyra stood near the ship's ramp. The metal beneath her feet trembled from the enemy's landing. She could hear them. 3 soldiers, metal-faced and heartless, walking with heavy steps. Each step came closer, each one echoing like a countdown. She looked down at her glowing mark. It pulsed like a heartbeat, but stronger, brighter. It burned. But she didn't pull away. This time she didn't feel like running. The human stood beside her, holding his blaster. "Ready?" "Stay behind me," he said. "No," she whispered. "We do this together." He looked at her for a long second, then nodded. The hatch burst open. The 3 soldiers stepped into the junkyard. their armor reflecting the dim red lights of the moon. Target confirmed, the leader said. Unit X-91. Return for reprogramming. Lyra didn't speak. She didn't move. The human aimed his blaster. She's not going anywhere with you. You are not authorized to interfere, the soldier replied. Too bad, the human said. And fired. The blaster bolt hit the lead soldier in the chest, sparking, but not stopping him. The others moved fast. Weapons drawn. The human jumped in front of Lyra, firing again. One of the enemy's shots grazed his shoulder. He cried out and fell to one knee. Human. Lyra shouted, rushing to him. Stay back, he groaned. No. Her voice shook with fear, and something more. Her mark burned hotter. Flames danced. Across her skin glowing lines like lightning. The soldiers stopped. One of them said, Activation sequence confirmed. Unit X-91 is online. I am not your unit. She screamed. The mark exploded in light. A shockwave burst from her body, knocking the three soldiers back. Metal cracked. Sparks flew. The human shielded his face. Lyra. She floated off. The ground, her feet just inches above the floor. Her hair lifted in the air, glowing like a star. Energy crackled from her fingers. She saw their fear. She felt their fear. But inside her, a small voice cried, Don't become the weapon. One soldier stood again, limping. You were built to destroy. Accept your design. No, she said softly. The energy faded from her hands. I was built, yes, but I choose who I become. She lowered herself gently back to the floor. The soldier raised his weapon again, before he could fire. The human pulled the trigger. One clean shot. The metal soldier dropped to the ground, silent forever. The other two backed away, but Lyra stepped forward, calm. If you come for me again, she said, I won't run. I won't hide. They paused, scanning her power levels. One spoke. She has evolved to unstable. Retreat, the other said, and just like that, they vanished into the dark, retreating to their ship, leaving only silence behind. Lyra stood still. Her chest rose and fell. Her mark dimmed. The human walked to her hand on his bleeding shoulder. You didn't destroy them. I didn't want to. They would have killed you. She looked up at him. Then I would have died myself, not as a weapon, but as Lyra, he placed a hand on her cheek, gently. You saved us both. She smiled through tears. They returned to the ship. The human wrapped his arm in bandages. Lyra brought him water and sat close, not speaking, just listening to his breathing. Are you afraid of me now? She asked softly. He looked at her, tired but honest. I was never afraid of you, but I could have lost control. Oh, you didn't, he said. That's what matters. She nodded slowly. I didn't choose this body, she whispered. I didn't choose the mark. But you chose not to become a monster, he replied. She rested her head on his arm. The ship lights flickered gently. I think, she said, I want to learn more. About me, about who I was, who I can be. He smiled. Then, we'll search together. That night, she slept without fear of her dreams. The fire inside her was still there. But now, she had control. The question still remained, was she a weapon? Or a girl? The galaxy had treated her like a thing to be used, sold, locked away. But now, she belonged to no one. The stars were quiet again. The black ship was gone. The battle was over, but something inside. Lyra still burned not with fear. This time, but with strength. Not anger, but purpose. She stood at the front of the ship, staring into the vast sky, her reflection shining on the glass. The girl who once lived in a cage, silent and afraid, was no longer the same. She was changing, becoming behind her. The human walked slowly. His shoulder was bandaged, and his steps were a little heavy, but his eyes were calm. He stood beside her. "They'll come back, won't they?" Lyra asked. "Maybe not right away," he said. "But yes, one day." She nodded. "Then we keep moving." "Yes. But not running this time," she said firmly. "Just living." He looked at her and smiled. Exactly. They floated through space for days, avoiding trade lanes, stopping only on quiet moons or abandoned stations. The human repaired. The ship, Lyra helped. She learned faster now. Her fingers didn't shake anymore. Her eyes stayed sharp. He gave her access to the ship's old library. She read about planets, stars, humans, and history. She listened to music. She found old stories once about heroes, rebels, wanderers, and orphans. And for the first time, she saw herself in a story. One morning, the human handed her something. A small silver tag. "What's this?" she asked. "Your ID chip," he said. "Registered, official. The galaxy will now recognize you as free." She stared at it. "Free, ... He smiled. "That's your name now? Not a number. Not a unit." She touched the tag, heart beating fast. Her name, Lyra. Later, they landed on a small green planet covered in tall trees and glowing lakes. A hidden world, peaceful, safe. They stepped outside the ship. The ground felt soft. The air smelled like flowers. Birds sang songs she had never heard. She laughed out loud, spinning once under the sky. The human watched her. "Feels strange, doesn't it?" She nodded. "But good strange." They walked together through the trees. Lyra stopped by a quiet lake and touched the water. "Can we stay here?" she asked. "For a while," he said. "Will you build a home?" He looked around. "I think we can." In the days that followed, they built a small shelter beside the lake wood. Stone, solar panels from the ship. Lyra painted the inside walls with shapes she remembered from her dreams: moons, stars, faces. The human found seeds. They planted food. She picked berries. He fixed solar lights at night. They sat beside a fire. Sometimes they spoke. Sometimes they didn't have to. One evening, as the stars came out, Lyra sat by the water. She placed her hand on the mark on her shoulder. It still glowed, but not like before. Now it felt like part of her. Not a curse, not a weapon, just a story on her skin. The human joined her. "What are you thinking?" She smiled. "I used to be a thing in a cage, a tool, a number. And now," she looked at him. "Now, I'm someone. A girl. Maybe. Even family." He nodded. "That's what you are." She looked at the sky. "Thank you for choosing me." "I didn't choose you," he said softly. "You chose to trust me. That takes more courage than anything else." Months passed. They built more. The garden grew. Lyra learned to fix the combs, fly the ship, cook better than the human. She laughed. More, dreamed more. Sometimes, she still had nightmares. But she always woke up knowing she was not in a cage anymore. She was not alone. One morning, a small ship passed overhead, far above the clouds. Lyra watched it. She didn't hide. She didn't fear. She simply watched it pass. The galaxy was still out there. Full of danger, yes, but also full of stars. She turned to the human. "One day, want to help others like me," she said. "You will." He replied. "And when they ask who saved me," she smiled. "I'll tell them. A nameless human who saw more than a mark." That night, Lyra carved her name into a wooden beam of the house. Her hands were steady. Lyra free, found, fierce, no longer a weapon, no longer forgotten, just a girl with a home.